What's up, everybody? Smooth Cosplayer here, your favorite salsa dancing cosplayer. Speaking of salsa dancing, 2 weekends ago, I taught another salsa dancing panel over at BleDCon up in DC. And during the class, one of my students asked me how I got into salsa. Now, as much as I wanted to tell that story, as much as I love telling that story, it's a long story. Like, there's no in between for me telling that story. Either I tell it in like 30 seconds and it's just, hey, this happened and bam, or I give you the version that is a lot more detailed, a lot more meaningful, a lot more feeling behind it, but it takes like 20 minutes. So I kindly and respectfully declined to tell that story during class because I was like, it was just going to take up way too much time during class. And I told her, I said, hey, we'll get together after class and then I'll give you the whole shebang there. But I saw her about twice after the class throughout the weekend, and each time we wouldn't have had enough time for me to give that story its due attention. So this is me making up for it. Big shout out to I am Simply Nay on Instagram. Big shout out to her. She wore this super dope Rainbow Bright cosplay that day and during the panel. Yeah, I love seeing that. That took me back to my childhood there. But yeah, this video was dedicated to you, Nay, and for everybody else out there who's ever wondered how I got into salsa, here it is. Here is my salsa story. So let's jump in the time machine and go back to spring of 2000. I'm in my last semester of high school. Yeah, I'm a little old. We were doing this multicultural festival at school. And so we're all in the gym and, you know, going through all the different, like, regions of the world or whatever. And they come up on the Latino or Latinx, as we say it now, Latinx, Hispanic, Spanish portion of it. And they do this little dance number, and some of my classmates are in that particular routine. And I see this, and I'm like, wow, I wish I could do that. And I say that in two ways. One, I wish I could do what they were doing. I wish I could dance like that. I was not a dancer at all at the time. The other thing I meant with that was, I'm like, I wish I could do anything in front of a bunch of people, because at the time my biggest fear was doing anything in front of people. Stage fright, had fear of public speaking. I still to this day don't like being the center of attention. I just know how to handle it better now. I don't like all eyes being on me. I don't crave attention. I don't feed off it. That's just not my element. So, but needless to say, that was where the seed was planted, you know, being able to see Latin dancing in action. So let's fast forward to, I want to say a year and a half, maybe a little bit more later. I am in college at Florida A&M University. Shout out to any Rattlers out there, Tallahassee, Florida. This is my first semester of my second year in college, and I'm on a date with who would eventually become my girlfriend, and now, of course, my ex-girlfriend. And we've gone out once before, but that was before summer break. So this was our second date, but, you know, we still are trying to get to know each other, still asking the surfacey questions on this date. So I asked her, you know, what do you like doing? She says Latin dancing. I was like, oh, Latin dancing. I want to do that because, like I said, you know, I've seen it and been wanting to get into it. So I say, hey, we should get together and do that sometime. So the next date we go on, she decides to take me out, which I was like, hey, let's do it. So we decide we're going to go to this club called Atlantis. It was the only Latin club in Tallahassee at the time, and also you didn't have to be 21 to get in, like college kids can get in. So I'm fired up about it. I'm going out with the girl I like, and we're about to do the thing that I've been wanting to do for a while. But about an hour before she comes to pick me up, I get a call from her saying that we're no longer going to Atlantis. We're going to side note, we went the same church together, and our singles ministry was putting on like this house party at one of their at somebody's place or whatever. So she decides we're going to go there instead, which I don't argue with, because I'm like, the girl I like is taking me out on a date. I ain't arguing with nothing. I don't care if we ride around the car for an hour. Like, I'm getting taken out, so I'm good. So we go, we have a good time, but I find out later that she actually didn't. She actually changed plans because she thought she had convinced herself that I didn't really want to go. That I only wanted to go to impress her, and I didn't really want to do it myself. And I'm like, really though? You really just made that decision like that? So I spend the next 2, maybe 3 dates trying to get us to go back there because I wanted to convince her that I really wanted to go genuinely, and 2, just like I said, I wanted to go genuinely, so I want to go. So something kept happening. Like every time we tried to go, something happened. We didn't end up going. So let's fast forward to December that year, December 2001. We start dating then. Fast forward another 2 months, February 2002, we finally get to go. Actually, a big group of us went to go and had my first lesson. In hindsight, I realized it was merengue and not salsa. But we had a good time, got lessons in. But something ain't right because I'm trying to dance. I'm trying to do the stuff that I was just taught, and there were times it just didn't fit. Like, so in hindsight, I realized, of course, they were playing salsa, bachata, merengue, maybe a little cha-cha. So I'm trying to do these merengue moves, not knowing it's merengue, doing these merengue steps to music that doesn't fit. I'm just sitting there, I know something's not right, I just don't know what's right. And I'm looking at everybody else around me, and I'm like, what they're doing ain't what I'm doing. Their stuff looks on point, my stuff don't. What's going on? But again, I don't know any better, so I don't really know the differences. I don't know how to pinpoint what's wrong. I just know something was wrong. So yeah, that was my first taste of actually doing it. First time actually going out and taking a lesson, going out and dancing. So we're gonna park here on my relationship with my ex for a second, because this kind of frames a bunch of stuff that happens later on in my story. So she had a couple of boyfriends prior to me. Like, we're both still fairly young. Like, I turned 19 right after we started dating, and she was already 19. She had a boyfriend or 2 before me, whereas me, this was my very first relationship. So one, I don't really know how to navigate the dynamics of a relationship. The other thing, the other issue was that, well, going into the main issue anyway, one sore spot in our relationship was that she felt like she needed how do I say this? She would always tell me, hey, I need to be led. And what that meant, 2 different things. One, I'm not a very, well, at the time, I was not a very assertive person. I was not a very take charge kind of guy. And that's one thing that she needed in a relationship. And 2, she felt like she needed to be led spiritually. And apparently I wasn't doing a good job of that for her. Like, she would pull me aside at church every now and then and explain that to me. She felt like that was something I was lacking. And I would ask her, hey, so what does that mean for you? How do I go about doing that for you? And she would always like deflect and like say, oh, well, you need to talk to some of the brothers, some of the older guys at church, some of the more experienced guys at church, and just kind of get advice from them. And I'm like, okay, that's all well and good. That's not going to hurt. But I don't know that from you. Like, I need to know specifically from you what you need. Like, what does that mean for you? Now, I was thinking that in my head. Like I said, I was not the most assertive person back then. So my backbone was still developing at that time. So I did not have the presence of mind to actually say that to her, but that was in my head. I'm like, why am I asking other people about what you need from me? Like, that didn't make sense to me. So that came up a few times in our relationship, and we ended up breaking up in April of that year, April 2002. So we really only lasted like 5.5 months or so. And she called me on the phone, broke up with me. I got dumped, but at the time we were in a rocky spot in our relationship. So even though I probably would have, had she not broken up with me, I would have tried to work it out. But we were in a rocky enough part of our relationship to where I was like, hey, this is a weight off my shoulders. I'm good. I'm cool with this right now. But because I never really got an explanation as to why, I assumed that the whole leadership thing was the reason why she broke up with me. Now, briefly fast forwarding, we're gonna rewind back to this, but fast forwarding to maybe about a year and a half to 2 years later, we did eventually reconnect, and we talked a little bit, and I found out that that's not why we broke up. It was mainly because there was some stuff on her end that I never knew about that she wanted to take care of on her own outside of a relationship. So I found out that wasn't the case, the whole leading thing. But during the time that I didn't know that, the damage was done. I'm thinking, okay, this whole lead thing is why we broke up. So that stuck with me for a while. So coming back to around the time that we broke up, now we're going to fast forward, not so far forward, to maybe about a half a year later. I want to say fall of 2002. I had moved back home to Atlanta. She moved back home to New Jersey. So I'm chilling at lunch after church one day with my campus ministry, and one of my friends from there, Puerto Rican guy, Felipe. Big shout out to Felipe. I ain't spoken to Felipe in years, but if you're watching this, you did a lot for me, bro. Like seriously, like I would not be the salsa dancer I am today if not for Mr. Felipe Roman. If you're out there anywhere, big shout out to you. Love you, bro. But he made an announcement at the lunch table saying, hey, I'm going to start teaching free salsa lessons for the campus ministry after church every Sunday. You guys should come through. And I'm like, what? Salsa? Free? Let's do it. Let's go. Because I'm like, I'm finally getting to do this thing that I've been wanting to do consistently, and I ain't got to pay for it. Like, that was music to my ears. So I'm at salsa class every Sunday, like clockwork. Like if I wasn't going out of town, or if nothing else got in my way, if I wasn't in trouble at home, because I was still in college and living at home with my parents, so there were times where things happened and I didn't get to go do what I wanted to do. Anyway, as long as nothing stopped me, I was at salsa class every Sunday. I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it. Finally getting to do this thing. But this lead thing has come back, because those of y'all who don't know, if you're basically every partner dance in the history of ever was rooted in traditional male-female roles. So the man leads, the woman follows. So in order for me to be good at this, I have to learn to lead. I gotta lead better. So this lead thing has come back and is bugging me, annoying me, pestering me. Because every time I heard the word lead in any capacity, I heard it in my ex-girlfriend's voice. And it wasn't like it was some big, like, ball-busting, berating kind of voice. Like, she actually was very soft-spoken, like as quiet as I was back then. And I'm still not really a loud person. I just get loud when it's time to, like, say if I'm teaching a class, I know how to turn it on and off. But I'm still an introvert at heart, and I was a whole lot quieter and introverted back then. So for her to be the quiet one in the relationship, that said a lot. So anytime she said anything, it was always in this really soft voice like this. So every time I heard lead, I heard it in that voice, but it stung. Like, it felt like a Muay Thai kick to my leg, yo. That's how much it stung and annoyed me. So this lead thing keeps nagging at me. And it probably didn't help that my church at the time was still also very rooted in, traditional gender roles and everything. So it was like, brothers gotta lead, step up and lead. So that didn't help either. So on one hand, I'm loving learning how to dance salsa, but at the same time, it's hitting me here, because I'm just like, I can't get away from this lead thing. But I think, and I know a lot of y'all out there may not be super religious or whatever, but I am, and this is my truth, my story. I do feel like God put salsa in my life to help me grow in certain areas. I don't think He ever intended me to be like a alpha male, and I don't think I want to be one either. But I did, like I said, I was, very soft-spoken back then. I wasn't very assertive. I had trouble, speaking up for myself, standing up for myself. I had trouble going after what I wanted. I had trouble, all those areas. I was a legit pushover back then. So I would like like to say that salsa has helped me grow out of that, helped me develop a lot. And like I said, I didn't do a complete 180, but it is a night and day difference for me. And not that I'm an expert in leading in general in life, but salsa did help me get to understand what leadership really means. Like, if you're a leader, if you're a real leader, you're not like just pushing people around and bossing people around. You're not just telling people what to do. If you're a real leader, you're actually, to some extent, being a servant, because you got people under your charge, you got people you're in charge of, you got people who are following you. You got to take care of them. You got to attend to their needs. You got to pay attention to them, see what they need in order to do what you want them to do. If you're a real leader, you're not just bossing people around. So, and that's how it is when you're leading in any partner dance. Like, yeah, you're telling somebody what to do, not really telling them what to do. You're more so guiding them, and you're also paying attention to your partner. You're taking care of what your partner needs. You're protecting your partner, because you got all other people on the dance floor. You try not to bump into them. You try not to run into them and all that. And I don't mean this to sound arrogant or condescending, but you might be dancing with somebody who is not at the same level as you are. They might be a level or a few lower than you as far as experience and skill. And as a lead, you have to cater to their skill level. You have to come down. Like I said, I don't mean this in a condescending way, but you got to come down to their level and give them stuff that they can actually follow. So yeah, like I said, I'm not going to say I'm some big expert in like just leading in life, but dancing, partner dancing has opened my eyes to what that really means. So yeah, like I said, I feel like God put salsa in my life to help me grow. And as I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, but He put it in there for some other reasons too. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, so I'm learning salsa. I'm having a good time. Now, I'm 19 when I first started dancing, and at the time, I thought that the only thing that I could go to actually dance was a club. So there was, at the time, there was the Havana Club in Atlanta. There's still one in Atlanta, but it moved to a different location. It's a completely different vibe now. But anyway, so a lot of times my friends who would go to class with me, a lot of them who were a little bit older than me, would say, "Hey, Myra, we're going to Havana Club this Saturday. You want to come?" And this annoyed me to no end, because I'm like, dude, I'm not 21 yet. And I wasn't 21 the last time you asked me. And I wasn't 21 the time before that, or the time before that, the time before that. I'm like, how do y'all keep forgetting that I'm not 21 yet? And y'all keep, like, it was just like super annoying to me. Anyway, so I spent like 2 years like spinning my wheels. Like, I'm learning, but I'm not getting to go put it into practice. The only time I got to really practice it outside of class was, say, if my church had like we throw little parties every now and then, and of course they play some Latin music, for like a little block of time or whatever. So I get to dance then, or some of our Latino brothers and sisters would have like a party, a house party, Latin party, whatever. So I get to dance it there, but that's every month, every other month, so I'm not really getting to practice it that much. So I turned 21 finally, and I start looking for it's almost like it was burning a hole, like money burning a hole in my pocket. Like, the moment I got a chance to spend it, I was spending it. So basically, as soon as I turned 21, I started searching for every outlet that I could go dance at. I started going to, me and a friend of mine, we would go to this place called looooong in Atlanta. And so we committed to going like every other weekend. We go to looooong. And I'm starting to get a little taste of it, but so the problem with looooong for me, and this is no diss to looooong as an establishment, but it's not a place. If you're actually going to go dance and you actually want to, and you're serious about dancing, that's not the place you want to go. Because, okay, it's really a restaurant, and they move, at some point they move the chairs and some of the tables away to make a dance floor. And, they'll have a DJ, and they might have a live band, and it's playing, they're playing Latin music, but they're not always playing salsa. They're not always playing bachata. Like, they might be playing some Latin rock, Latin pop, whatever. Stuff that sounds like salsa. If you're not used to, if your ears aren't used to salsa, actual salsa, you may think anything that got a little Latin guitar in it sounds like salsa. Oh, I should salsa to this. So that, and then two, Local Luna is more of a club, meat market type vibe. So what that means is, and I mean this for both the men and the women, if you're not that person, you're probably not getting a dance. You know, you're not getting someone to say yes to your invite to a dance, or you're probably not getting asked. Okay, so I'm getting turned down like half the time or more because I'm just not that guy that woman was interested in. You know, just like if a guy, you know, on the ladies' side, you're not getting asked to dance because you're not that woman that guy wants to hit on or take home or whatever. So, and then the dances that I do get, and again, I don't mean this arrogantly, but like the girls I'm dancing with aren't keeping up because like they don't really have a sense of what it means to lead and to follow, and they're just we were essentially just holding hands, and she's doing her own thing, I'm doing my own thing, which was very frustrating to me because I'm like, I'm not getting the opportunity to put into practice what I've been learning in class. So I'm getting to go dance, but I'm also like this. I don't feel like this is it. So one day I'm at QT over in Decatur, one of the QTs in Decatur, Georgia, and over by DeVry University, Decatur, where I graduated from. So I'm just over there after class one day, and I see, I didn't see who left the car. Like, I saw who left the car, but I didn't see her face. And I look at this card that's on the counter, and it says Salsambo. Big shout out to Salsambo. Big shout out to Alfredo and Jen Peseño. I didn't consistently take lessons from them, but like I did take a few lessons in the very beginning, and I'm like, that actually helped me get my foot in the door as far as where to go dancing at, because like it's one of those things where just like if you're into cosplay, if you're into anything geeky, like you don't see like, okay, so if you live in Georgia, like you may have seen MomoCon billboards sometime in May, but other than that, like you're not gonna see cosplay on a commercial on TV. You're not gonna see it advertised in a newspaper. You're not gonna just see a random ad for it somewhere. Or at least back then, social media wasn't a big thing, so you weren't gonna see that very frequently. So same thing with salsa. It's like you're not gonna see it advertised. You're not gonna just see it randomly. But once you do go to an event, like that whole world just opens up for you. So taking a couple of lessons with Salsambo, and I start hearing about other events, other workshops and stuff like that. So I find out about this workshop at the Sanctuary, and I go and I have a great time. I'm learning a lot, and I hear about this social that's happening later on in that month. Salsa Sheila, big shout out to Salsa Sheila. She's a big part of my salsa story. If you're watching, Sheila, big shout out to you. Love you. She has a social at the Sanctuary she had social at the Sanctuary every second and last Saturday of the month. So I finally go to one, and that day it just happens to be a day where there's a bunch of people from out of town teaching workshops and performing that night. I didn't get a chance to go to the workshops, but like when I showed up that night, like I'm seeing the dance floor is packed and everybody's dancing and everybody's looking like what I want to do, but like light years better. And I go in there and I'm like, man, I might as well go home because ain't nobody here for to dance with me. Like, everybody here is experts. Everybody here is professional. Like, nobody's going to dance with me. Excuse me. And it was the exact opposite. It was the exact opposite because in that world, and you go to like what's called a salsa social where you don't really have to be 21 to get in, and it's really more of a everybody just came to dance kind of vibe. Not to say that you might not meet somebody or whatever, but the main purpose at a salsa social is the people came to dance. So I didn't get turned down for a dance not once that night, because again, that was everybody's main purpose. Everybody dances with everybody. Everybody's supportive of everybody. Everybody's dancing. Everybody's having a good time. Nobody's really not to say that you can't find love or love for that night, but everybody's like, hey, I just came to dance. I just came to get my dance on. So I was like, this is legit. Even more so, I see the performances that night, and again, there's people from out of town, from all over, like super, like these are people who are like the Yaya Han or Jessica Negri of salsa, if that makes any sense. So I see them performing, and my jaw is on the ground the whole night from watching them perform and then watching other people dance. So I'm like, I found my home. It's like, you know, if you find cosplay for the first time, or you find comic conventions for the first time, you walk in, you're like, I found my family, I found my tribe. Like, that's how I really felt walking into the sanctuary the first time dancing. So that's, you know, that was a night I really became a salsaholic. That was the night I fell in love with salsa. Like the seed was planted many years before, but that night I was like, this is what I need to be doing. This is my jam. So summing up the rest of my story, like, I started teaching 2007. I really shouldn't have been teaching. It was one of them cases where, like, I was out at an event for one of my friends, Daniela Dutton. Big shout out to Daniela Dutton. You've probably seen her in one of my other videos. I'll give you a link to her description. If y'all are out there in LA, make sure y'all take lessons from her. I was helping her out with one of her dance socials one day, and the guy who owned the studio saw me dancing. Was like, "Hey, do you want to teach lessons?" I'm like, "Heck yeah, let's do it." I really was not prepared to teach at the time, but I didn't know what I didn't know, so I didn't know that I shouldn't have been teaching. I would tell my young self that you ain't ready, but at the same time, I don't regret doing it, because I feel like I got teaching experience out of that. I feel like I got experience with what works, what doesn't work, how to explain things to people, how to explain it so that people get it. Because, you know, I hate when instructors are like, "Hey, do this," and if you don't get it the way that they explained it, it's like, "Oh well, sorry." Like, I can't leave students behind like that. I'm like, I'm going to keep re-explaining this. I'm going to explain this in a gajillion different ways until you get it. So, but yeah, like I said, I was not ready to teach at the time, but I got teaching experience from it. Started teaching in 2007. Been teaching since then. Been to many salsa congresses, like the equivalent to a comic convention, but just replace the geekiness with salsa, or Latin dancing rather. Many salsa adventures since then, many performances, many all of that. And what I was alluding to before was that I actually met my wife through salsa. So Salsa Sheila had been, you know, we became pretty close eventually, and she had been trying to marry me off for a while. And she inadvertently set me up, because there was this couple who wanted private salsa lessons, so she gave me their information. And this couple, the wife, big shout out to Desta. Desta was mutual friends with my now wife, and she tried to hook us up, and we didn't listen in the beginning. We were very hard-headed and didn't want anything to do with the blind date. If you all want the rest of that story, check out my video Love and Transformers. So yeah, that led to me meeting my wife, and my wife and I dating and being married. So like I said earlier in the video, I think God put salsa in my life for a myriad of reasons. So yeah, there is that. That is how I got into salsa. That's how I got started. That's my salsa story. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully this might inspire some of y'all to go out and try it and get addicted like I did. That's it for me today, y'all. Y'all have a good night. Have a good time at whatever con you're going to next. Good luck on your cosplay builds. Please hit that like button, that subscribe button, that share button, and I will see y'all in the next video.